Welcome everyone to another session of Answer Writing Program by Vajiram and Ravi. Well, we are in this month of November going to see GS4 questions. From 1st November, we are looking at GS4 questions 5 days a week, finishing the entire syllabus. There will be 12 case studies to ensure you are preparing for the GS4 in a holistic way. You can attempt those questions at vajiramias.com. You can see the model answer and the video discussion over here at the YouTube channel. Just go to vajiramias.com. Over here, go to the mains daily section. You can see the announcement and schedule over here. You can go to the respective month. You can see the different questions. Just click any question and choose file to upload your answer so that you can maintain the discipline and so on. So let's see today's question of GS4. We are going to see specifically from philosophy, ethics and human interface, and contribution of moral thinkers. We'll see 2 questions from the same and 1 question from the current affairs. Let us see the overview of the questions. The very first question is going to be about child's moral compass. We will be looking at variety of factors and also understand the role of social media. The second question is a quotation based question. We'll be deciphering a quotation and understand from our perspective what exactly it means. And the third question is current affair based question. It's about the Lok Sabha Ethics Committee. We recently witnessed a case for cash for query. And that's what we are going to decipher in this question. Let us see the first question together. A child's moral compass is shaped by a variety of factors, agents. In light of this statement, bring out the role of social media on construction of child's moral compass. Over here in the introduction, you have the opportunity to define moral compass. You can talk about how it is inner sense, inner idea, what is right and what is wrong. So basically this is morality which is coming from your inner self. You can also talk about Kohlberg's stages of moral development. As we are talking about development of child's moral compass, we can understand how the morality, the inner compass, the moral compass is developed in a child, how there are different stages, and Kohlberg's stage of moral development is something which is we can understand how the development of moral compass happens. So that is something you can write in the introduction. Coming to the body, the first heading we are going to write is agents and factors shaping moral compass of a child. You can enlist different factors and give explanation and certain kind of examples to substantiate the same. You can talk about family. Now family is the first institution which is kind of the first exposure for the child to understand the society. Family gives idea, their biases, their understanding of morality, and child will absorb such kind of idea. So family is the primary agent for shaping moral compass. Second is school. School is a bigger institution where they learn ideas of tolerance. Also, they understand different role models such as teachers and other stakeholders in the school, right? Like students and peers. Apart from that, we have society as a whole. When a child enters a society, they can understand certain kind of collaboration happening, certain kind of conflict happening that will definitely impact their understanding of morality. And lastly, we have peers who can influence them, who can also create certain kind of value system in them, like problem solving, team work, and etc. So that is something you can encompass in factors shaping moral compass of a child. Now specifically, the next heading is going to be about the second demand, which is role of social media on the construction of child's moral compass. Over here, you can either divide the heading 2 into subheadings like positive impact and negative impact, or you can list down all the impacts as in the role of social media in a 4 points. You can write about exposure to diverse perspective. Now that can be a positive impact. A child can learn about different perspectives through social media. However, there can be certain negative impacts as well, because there are certain biases, there are certain stereotypes that can also peep into a child's moral compass by absorbing such perspectives. You can talk about peer influence. On social media, they're definitely exposed to their peers' ideas. We have seen certain positive impact whenever if a peer is going and thinking in a line with morality. However, we have also seen negative impact. We have seen one such example of boys' locker room, where peers, due to influence of social media, they were deviated from the morality. Third is information and education. Getting awareness about society, getting awareness about ethical perspectives definitely helps with respect to building social compass. However, there are certain negative aspects as well. If that information is not true, if that information is supporting certain unethical stances, then it can go in a negative side as well. Fourth is cyberbullying and online harassment. Now, that is purely negative impact of social media. It can definitely damage, destruct moral compass of a child. It can also hamper their growth with respect to other moral dimensions. Fifth is role model. We have seen various role models on social media. They definitely pass on their thoughts, their wisdom, sometime that is definitely aligned with morality. And many times we have also seen certain role models which can definitely give certain kind of subjective ideas that can be thought as something not in moral lines. Then self-expression and advocacy. Through social media, a child can definitely access and pass on their information through expression and advocacy and understand. We have seen certain examples like Greta Thunberg, right? She definitely used social media to showcase her morality and moral compass. However, that can also augment certain negative instances as well. Then the last part is again the negative impact of privacy and digital ethics. We have seen how social media can sabotage privacy rights and can be unethical at certain instances, which can directly impact the morality of the child. So these are the kind of points that you can encompass in role of social media on construction of child's moral compass. Lastly, in the conclusion, you can talk about certain instances as in way ahead. We have seen that the instances of social media impacting child's moral compass has not been just limited to India, but a global uproar. We have seen certain news headings where they are talking about banning children from social media. There are also instances where countries escalating its war on kids' screen time to ensure they limit their internet use and ensure privacy. We have also seen certain regions who have created laws to ensure the social media is regulated. So these are the kind of points that you can inculcate in the conclusion, where you can talk about how every stakeholder must ensure that child is absorbing social media in such a way it's not corrupting their sense of morality. So that is something you will write in the conclusion of question number 1. Let us see the model answer and understand how can we write the same in our answer writing practice. In the first, you can give the idea of morality, the moral compass. You can talk also about how child is a blank slate and various agents that shape that compass. Then you can talk about different agents. You can give supporting arguments for the same, and then you can talk about role of social media. You can divide the same into positive and negative impact and expand the same, and at the end you can talk about the way forward. So that is something for question number 1. Let's move to question number 2. Question number 2 is a code based question. Let's read the code together. No society can prosper if it aims at making things easier. Instead, it should aim at making people stronger. Now, through this quote, in the introduction, you can briefly give idea about the same. If we decipher this quote, basically the quote is trying to give us an ancient maxim that don't give anybody fish, teach them how to fish. Basically, making people stronger instead of giving things to them and making things easier for them. You can also understand from a other perspective. If we create zones of comfort, people as a society can become fragile. As in, the entire society might collapse because people might not be motivated enough to work as they have and are enjoying the comfort zone. However, the need of the hour is to not make comfort zones, but to ensure there is a certain push that people take proactive steps so that the entire society becomes anti-fragile. Anti-fragile refers to the fact that even there are certain instances of stress in the society, society does not collapse. Instead, as people are becoming stronger and stronger, society learns from those mistakes and encompasses the learning, and at the end we have a stronger society because of the stronger subunits which are people. So that is something in brief you can explain in the introduction. In the body, you can divide the both aspect of the code and give certain substantiation. The first part is the easy part. In the heading 1, you can talk about how choosing comfort can sabotage our idea of safeguarding the society. We have seen certain human inclination towards comfort with respect to our basic needs. We have also seen certain historical precedents of choosing easier path. We have seen certain instances where society collapsed. We have seen how freebie based model of development where people are given certain freebies that can definitely disincentivize people to work. We have also seen certain bigger institutions, how we saw the collapse of USSR because of certain political ideology as in socialism, where the motivation for innovation, etc., and lot of things collapsed because everyone entered in a comfort zone. So that is there. And the last is consequences of seeking excessive effort. There are certain definitely issues when we are progressively looking for certain comfort zone. We have also seen how helicopter parenting can definitely also impact, like if a parents are trying to ensure all the time to create comfort zone for the kids, those kids can definitely face certain kind of resistance when they grow up. And that's how we can understand how choosing comfort is not something as ideal. In the heading 2, you can talk about how making people stronger, choosing less travel path, that should be the aim. We have seen that how discomfort builds resilience. We talked about anti-fragility in the introduction. That is what exactly can highlight different points. We can give certain historical examples. You can talk about the example of Singapore, the Premier Lee Kuan. He ensured that the capacity building of the people is the primary thing to ensure for building the entire society of Singapore. We have also seen certain instances where country like Israel, they have mandatory army for the citizens to ensure they safeguard the society, thus making people stronger. We have also seen our national movement where people moved out of their comfort zone, participated in the national movement. They even went to jail, have certain kind of harassment from Britishers. But despite all of that, we created a very robust society and today we are the largest democracy on the world. Then we can also talk about how Japanese phrase of Gen Batte, which refers to moving on and making sure there is an element of perseverance. We have seen the collapse of Japanese society post World War II due to nuclear attack. Post that, Japanese had that kind of essence that people should be at the center and their capacity should be built. So that's how we have to understand that society prospers only when the subunit, that is people, they are made stronger. So that is there for the body. Let's see in the conclusion, you can talk about the application in the contemporary society. You can talk with respect to, in general, you can talk about how nations should ensure people are given the right set of opportunities so that they can build their capacity instead of directly giving them the freebies. You can also talk from the perspective of civil servant, that how a civil servant should ensure that they are creating participatory democracy, they are ensuring people take part with respect to every process of the governance, and thus that can also help with respect to the good governance and thus prosperous society. So that is something you can encompass in question number 2. Let's see the model answer and understand how can we inculcate the same in our answer writing practice. You can talk about the quote in the brief in the introduction. You can talk about the heading 1 of the body. You can list down choosing comfort, the consequences of it, and do give substantial amount of examples to back your argument. Then you can also talk about making people stronger part, give arguments and substantiation, and at the end you can talk about the present day relevance. So that is there for question number 2. Let's move on to the question number 3, which is current affair based question. Let's read the question together. Lok Sabha Ethics Committee was formed to serve as the moral compass upholding the integrity of India's parliamentary democracy. In light of the recent investigation by the Ethics Committee on an MP, highlight the benefits and challenges associated with the Lok Sabha Ethics Committee. Now this question basically is coming from current affairs, but over here we will be looking at Lok Sabha's Ethics Committee to understand its functioning as well as certain challenges associated with it. In the introduction, you can briefly talk about the recent investigation, cash for query. We saw recently in Parliament there is specific uproar with respect to this kind of practice. We have certain MP who are accused of certain kind of unethical practice. So that is something you can write in the introduction. You can also encompass what exactly is Lok Sabha committee, the role of the speaker, the formation of Lok Sabha ethics committee. That is something you can write in the introduction. In the body, the heading 1, you can talk about the benefits, the function of ethics committee. You can talk about how it ensures maintenance of integrity and accountability, where the representative of the people, the members of parliament, are held accountable for their unethical behavior. In 2005, we saw a case where MPs were suspended because of their unethical practices. Preserving public trust. Now, as we know that member of parliament are representative of people, the public, the citizens of India. Now, when they diverge and create certain kind of practices which are unethical, unconstitutional, they should definitely be disincentivized, and thus through ethics committee we can create structures for public trust. Third is setting standard for conduct. As we have understood, there are certain SOPs in place. Through ethics committee, we can reinforce those ideas whenever anyone is deviating from those conduct standards. This also helps with respect to educating and advising other MPs so they can understand what are certain ethical principles that they need to follow as the representative of the people that they have voted for. Last is deterrence. As in, whenever ethics committee highlights any kind of malpractice, that definitely acts as deterrence, because that definitely impacts public's perception of that person. So deterrence is also one of the kind of benefit of having ethics committee. Now, there are certain challenges also associated with ethics committee. Firstly, political influence. As we can understand that the formation of ethics committee is kind of lies with the speaker. Now, that can also be biased with respect to the political affiliation, partisan interest, similar on the lines of political influence can be understood. Limited jurisdiction. Now, ethics committee do not have the jurisdiction with respect to implementation of the judgment that they have given. Slow process, as in the collection of evidences, then ensuring it's transparent and making sure the accountable person is given the right justice, fair judgment. So that is also kind of a slow process. And lastly, resource constraint. Ethics committee do not have the workforce specifically dedicated. They leverage parliament's other workforce. Thus, there are certain resource constraints as well. So those are the challenges that you can mention in this heading 2 of the body. In the conclusion, we can talk about way ahead. Over here, we can talk about how the member of parliament, the legislatures in general for the nation should be made aware. Their capacity must be also built with respect to understanding the ethics, what are the practices that they should avoid as they are representing the people. They should follow certain conduct so that public trust is maintained. At the end, we are ensuring that the democracy is not practiced in a corrupt form, but rather in ethical form, to ensure not just governance but good governance. So that is something you can write in the way ahead of this question number 3. Let us see the model answer and understand how can we inculcate the same in our answer writing practice. In the introduction, you can talk about the recent case, cash for query. You can also talk about the committee, as in the appointment by the speaker, etc. You can talk about the benefit. You can list down the benefits. You can give substantiation, and you can give certain examples to back your substantiation. Again, with the challenges, do the same. List down every point with a keyword, 2-3 lines of substantiation with argument and example, thus giving you a very holistic point in 3 lines. And in the conclusion, you can talk about going ahead, how should ideally an MP must behave in the parliament, as well as we can talk about how there should be collaboration within the parliament to ensure any unethical practice is avoided. So that is there for question number 3. That's the conclusion. Now for writing for answer writing program by Vajiram and Ravi. So keep writing. Thank you so much.